So The Last Jedi has been getting a lot of flack from some of the more die-hard fans, and I think I can see why. I mean, for starters, why would you ever bring back Jar Jar, and why the hell would you make him Rey's father? So by and large, The Last Jedi was pretty enjoyable. A lot of great action scenes, a lot of special effects that we've come to expect, and of course, Poe Dameron is back, and he is easily my favorite character out of all the new characters in this trilogy. And most of the jokes landed pretty well. But the movie's one of those types that, yeah, you'll go in, you'll really enjoy yourself the first time you see it, but afterwards, the more you think about it, the less it makes sense and the more mistakes you notice. I mean, the intro scene alone is worth the price of admission just because we have Poe flying around in his X-Wing taking on a Star Dreadnought by himself, and if you thought Star Destroyers were big, holy shit, Dreadnoughts are amazing. And Poe is a lot more involved in this movie than he was in The Force Awakens. He was more of a badass side character who really wasn't supposed to have that much screen time originally, apparently, but I'm glad that he survived and he's actually really kicking ass in this one. He even gets his own plotline in this one, and I'll call it one of the 3 of the 4 really important plot lines that the movie tries to undertake. Unfortunately, all the plot lines do kind of weigh the movie down. That's not to say the plot lines themselves are bad, except for one that was irrelevant, but I'll get to that in a minute. It's just that there's so much going on that after a while you do get exhausted, and the last 30 minutes not only feel kind of tacked on, but are kind of exhausting. I mean, just when I thought it was time to get up and go, nope, we gotta stay here for another 20 minutes. The overall plot is the First Order have managed to discover the Rebellion's last base, as we saw in The Force Awakens, and they're chasing them across the galaxy, and the Rebellion is doing everything they can to survive, and from that we get all the other plot lines. So basically, you're watching a 2-hour escape scene. Poe is a very reckless kind of a captain, and he's been given the rank of commander, and the first mission actually, it succeeds, but it's a Pyrrhic victory. They have very heavy losses, so he has to learn from his mistakes in being less reckless with his people and more about surviving than just beating up the Empire, or the First Order, rather. And I like that. It's an important lesson. It fits within this character as set up in the first movie, and it's threaded along well enough that it doesn't really overstay its welcome. The other plotlines follow Rey, Kylo Ren, and Finn. Rey has to train with Luke Skywalker in trying to become a Jedi, while learning the complex differences between the light and the dark sides. Compounded, of course, with Luke's feeling of guilt after what happened in The Force Awakens when he tried to start up the Jedi Academy. Those bits felt a little sluggish, and frankly, I don't know what Hamill was doing with his voice, but every time he spoke, I didn't really hear Luke Skywalker. I heard the Joker, which really took me out of the moment. Now, I did enjoy Luke's turmoil, and frankly, it was one of the more interesting parts of the movie, but Hamill's voice he never really got back to where I thought he should be vocally. Kylo Ren is still struggling with the aftermath of the last movie, but I'm kind of torn on his delivery because while in the first half you could see he was definitely struggling, and the actor managed to get that delivery across, but he ends up dropping it in the second half of the movie and Kylo Ren goes back into whiny emo bitch mode. Still, he does get some really cool fight scenes later on. And then, of course, there's what happens with Finn, and out of all the plots, his was the one I enjoyed the least. That despite the fact that he's one of my favorite characters from The Force Awakens. Poe launches a desperate gamble in order to stop the fleet from the First Order chasing down the Rebellion flagship, and he needs Poe and a new character named Rose to undertake it. Oh, and BB-8, of course. He's got to be in this too. While I didn't mind Rose, she was more of a wedged-in love interest for Finn. I don't know. We'll have to see what they end up doing with the 9th movie on that one. I'm not holding my breath, though. But Finn's plot, I don't want to go into spoilers here, but Finn's plot, it felt tacked on just so John Boyega would have something to do. I unfortunately can't really go into detail about that because spoilers, but what are you gonna do? Some of the more egregious mistakes they made, though, were basic sci-fi ones. For example, there's a scene, and this is very early on, so this is not a spoiler, but there's a scene early on where the First Order attacks and they manage to blast open one of the airlocks on the flagship, and this does not create a giant vacuum. I mean, the shielding is clearly gone, and there is nothing stopping anything from being pulled out into space, and yet nothing is pulled out into space. There's not even the hint that it's starting to happen. And it's not enough that this happened the one time. This happens, I believe, 3 times throughout the entire movie that I can recall. And then there's what happened to Leia. Of course, we very unfortunately lost Carrie Fisher back in 2016, which was absolutely tragic. And she gives a great performance for the whole thing, by the way. Leia is absolutely memorable, and they really nailed it as far as getting her on film. A lot of it felt like they tried to put as much footage of her in as they could, but it wasn't overstuffed. Then, of course, there's what they end up doing with Leia about midway through the movie, and I'm not going to spoil this, but my initial reaction of the whole thing was, well, damn it. I mean, this is sad, but I understand it. Carrie Fisher's dead. How else were they going to bring Leia back in the 9th movie? I understand this is fitting, this is appropriate. What the hell is she doing? And then, of course, there's a tremendous controversy when it turns out that Chewbacca and Lando Calrissian are actually Rey's parents. But it wasn't a bad movie. I did enjoy a good portion of it. And a lot of my thoughts about how certain things don't make sense did come after I left the theater. I have no idea how they're going to be able to continue in the 9th movie, realistically, but we'll see. It just felt like the director and the screenwriters got a little overzealous with certain changes they made. For comparison, in the MCU, it feels like everyone's talking to one another behind the scenes, all the directors, all the screenwriters, so that they don't write themselves into any corners. I'm not sure if that's happening with this trilogy, but whatever, I try to be optimistic. The movie is great for special effects, it's great for the fight scenes. The fight scenes alone are worth going to see it. You get plenty of time with your favorite characters, and there are a lot of throwbacks to the original trilogy. And you'll be absolutely surprised when it turns out that Supreme Leader Snoke is actually Darth Revan. So I did enjoy Force Awakens more. I'd probably give this movie a 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10, something like that. If you're a fan of Star Wars, go see it. If you like pretty flashing lights, go see it. Personally, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I do appreciate the series. Except for the first 3. I will mock those until I die.